everybody. Thanks for joining me for part 3 of our pelvic stability series. So I am meeting you here in this standing position, and we're going to take 2 standing plays for building strength and stability. And then we're going to start to bring ourselves all the way back down to the floor, where we're really going to start to stretch this out and release some of the contraction. So whether you are doing part 1, part 2, part 3 all together in one sequence, this will blend into part 1 and part 2. Or maybe you're doing part 1 on Monday, part 2 on Tuesday, part 3 on Wednesday. So hopefully we're finding all 3 of these episodes and playing with building our strength and stability, right? So we've got greater balance moving through our daily activities. So for this practice, all we're going to need is a blanket, and that blanket is really for us to do some stretching at the end of this sequence. So meet me in a standing position, and we're going to turn to face the long edge of the mat here. And you're going to take your feet, obviously a little bit wider than hip distance apart, but we're not going to go into our widest wide. In fact, we're going to turn these toes, these feet out at what I like to call a 45-degree angle. And we're going to take a bend into these knees. And I want to see if we can find a stance where the ankles are underneath the knees. So it looks a little something like this. You might shift forward and back here a couple of times and, maybe play with getting these feet and these ankles aligned so that ultimately we end up with the ankles underneath the knees. This is a lot of strength already, you're going to notice. So right now my torso is upright, and for where we're going with this, we're going to be finding a projected torso. So you might take that right now and notice that it's a little more easeful. It takes the weight off of the hips. All right, from here, let's sweep these arms out wide, and you're going to come all the way up. So we call this our plie. And then pull the hands down through the midline as you come back into what I like to call a sumo squat, right? You're in a little bit of a sumo warrior here, maybe swaying side to side a couple times. Maybe we're thinking about that pelvic floor lift. And then come back to center and let's plie again. All right, bring it back down. We're going to kind of start to move here with the breath. So nice big inhale. And exhale down into that sumo squat. Nice big inhale. And exhale down into that sumo squat. Maybe we're noticing that we're moving through the knees and the ankles and the hips. So getting a little warm up here into these leg joints. One more time. And as you come down into your sumo, let's pause. And let's lift this right heel up off the floor and see what's here with us in this place. We're going to slowly lower it for 3, 2, 1. Okay, plie, come all the way up. That's kind of our sweet release. And then bring it all the way back down. And let's lift the left heel. And we'll see what's here with us on this side. And then we'll start to lower for 3, 2, 1. Okay, big plie, nice big in-breath. All right, bring it back down into your sumo. And some of you might guess where we're headed. Right, we're going to play with alternating heel lifts, or maybe lifting right and lifting left, navigating that wibble wobble. This is a lot of strength, so let's stay with it. We're going to lower these heels for 3, 2, 1. Heels go down. Find that nice big plie. Come all the way up and pull your hands down through the midline. All right. Nice job. Let's heel toe these feet all the way back to center. Release your hands, maybe shake that out a little bit. And then I've actually just got one more for us here, right? Coming back into these glutes, right? Really waking up these glutes, activating these glutes. And we're going to play with some halfway deadlifts, right? So what I mean by that is we're going to keep the weight to the right foot to start. And you're going to take your left leg back, and we're going to let those toes come to the earth like this. And I want you to think about your toes to the crown of your head as like one big plank, right? We're only going to move through this right hip socket. It looks like this. I'm going to have hands to my heart, and I'm definitely going to have some softness in this standing leg. All right, and then we're going to play with hinging from that right hip, and you're moving like a plank from the crown of your head to your toes on that left side. And then we're slowly navigating the lift, and I find this to be a little more challenging, until your toes touch the earth. And we're going to do that again. We're going to do it 3 times, because for those of you who are taking these videos with me, you're starting to recognize that 3 is my favorite number, right? Lift back up, tap the toes. All right, you got this, right? We are playing. We're tapping into our willingness to maybe be in a little place of challenge here. And this time, as you lift all the way back up, let's go ahead and bring that left foot all the way next to your right. Take a big sigh. It's good to reset the breath, reset the nervous system. And we're going to take it over to the other side. So you're taking your weight to your left foot, right? Let's take the right foot back, and you're on the toes. So again, the idea here is that we're just hinging from the hip of that standing leg, and we're not going to lock the knee, right? When we start to lock the joints, we think we're going to find more stability, but it's actually just overworking your joints. So let's keep some softness. And then hands to the heart. And then we're going to play with this, right? So let's lift. Can we just tip forward? Eventually, right foot leaves the earth. Explore your shape. And then let's lift back up until your toes touch the earth. And we're coming back to this recognition that we might have a little more strength and stability on one side versus the other. Maybe you noticed that in part 1. Maybe you saw it show up again in part 2. And we're definitely noticing that here, right? When we start to isolate one leg over the other. All right, as you come back up, let's bring 2 feet back to the earth. And as those feet touch down, we might find that sigh, right? Go ahead and honor that. We always want to honor that breath reset. It's your nervous system's way of coming back to homeostasis. All right, that was it for our standing in this part 3. I want us to grab a blanket, because if you have been putting all 3 of these episodes together, I'm thinking that we're probably a little fatigued in these muscle groups. So let's go ahead and get our blanket set up. Let's come down to the floor. And we're going to do a little bit of stretching, right? So even if you're taking these sessions just one at a time, maybe mixing them around throughout your week routine, your weekly routine, it's still good for us to take some moments to stretch, because we know, yes, we want strength, we want stability, but if we get so strong without our flexibility, right, we become intolerant and we run the risk of breaking, right? So we think about wanting to have both our strength and our length, right? It's really our place of resilience. So as we come down onto the back, let's come into our constructive rest. We're going to take this left leg all the way up to the sky. externally rotate, so you're pointing your toes out to the left, and bring your ankle to your thigh. So good old figure four. And let's do a little dorsiflexion on this left foot. So pulling the toes back towards the shin, and see if you can spread your toes really bright, right? Harken back to part two where we were doing all of this mobilization into our feet, right? Let's see if we can start to find a little more space for our toes. And then from here, we're going to thread the needle. So right foot comes up off the floor. Maybe you're holding your right thigh. Maybe you're interlacing your hands behind your right thigh. And that's a pretty big stretch. So let's make sure we're breathing. This is a beautiful counter pose to all those clamshells we were doing in part one. So again, just like we've been doing through all three episodes, we are using the breath. Nice big inhale. Nice big open mouth exhale. All right, one more round of breath. And then from here, let's start to release that right foot to the floor, and we'll release the left foot to the floor, and we'll switch sides. So right leg goes up to the sky, and we're externally rotating, pointing those toes out to the right, ankle to your thigh, dorsiflex your foot, spread those toes really, really bright. Let's see if we can keep that as we lift this left foot up off the floor. Maybe you're holding your thigh. Maybe you're interlacing your hands behind your thigh, right? Meet your body where it's at. We are stretching. And if we're holding the breath, right, if we can't breathe in this shape, maybe we come out of it a little bit. Or if you're noticing that your sacrum is pulling up off the floor, or your head is pulling up off the floor, then let's get something underneath your head, right? So that we're bringing the earth up to us. When we don't feel supported, or when the body doesn't feel supported, it actually tenses, right? And we hold our tension patterns in our body. So let's see if we can rewrite some of those tension patterns, especially around the hips. So let's find some ease. Let's find some support. Maybe another nice big in-breath. Another nice big out-breath. And then start to release your foot to the earth. And we're going to release that right foot to the floor. And we're going to harken back to part two. We were really starting to play with that isometric contraction, that idea of muscles hugging to the bone. We're going to shake that off now. So let's do 2 legs to the sky. And let's take 2 arms to the sky. This is what I like to call dead bug. So look like a dead bug. And then from here, we are going to shake this out. You are going to shake your arms, shake your legs, right? It's like you're shaking the muscles away from the bone, and we're really activating some energy into your connective tissues, into your fascia. Shake it, 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 shake it. And then slowly we'll float all 4 limbs back to the earth. And maybe there's another nice big sigh, right? Remember, that's a way of sort of resetting your system. So always honor the sigh. Maybe you're closing your eyes and you're noticing that sort of sparkly effervescence in your feet and your hands. It's as if we put our feet and hands in champagne. They're experiencing all these little sparkles, and that is that activation and energizing of your fascia. So your fascia right now is thanking you. It's a great way to shake off, literally shake off fatigue. All right, I'm going to encourage you to stay here for another couple of minutes, just letting the whole body integrate all of this movement, whether you are doing these sessions, on different days, or maybe you've just put them all together for a nice hour-long session to practice good self-care. We want to take some moments here to be in stillness and to let the integration occur. And I always like to remind us that we don't need the thinking mind for this, right? We can let our mind be quiet. We can trust the other systems of intelligence in our bodies, right? Trust that they are doing what they need to do on your behalf to integrate all that we have just done. So I'm going to leave you here today and say, salud. Here is to your health.